Welcome, welcome, welcome to B3rdPower's Behind the Scene Chat. How you doing, Sherri, baby?
How you doing? I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. So excited to be on here with you tonight. We talk so much, but it's always good to see your face, baby.
Yes, it definitely is during our quarantine life.
Hello, but it's changing. It's slowly changing. We're
Slowly.
starting to be able to come out and play a little bit cautiously, but we can come out and play. But yeah, so we have some exciting things going on tonight, and we have an awesome guest joining us. She's no stranger to the show. She's with us. She's been an honorary guest co-host for several of our shows, and that is Miss Sonserria Coates of Daddyless Girls. Hi, baby. How are you?
Hello. How are you? I love those yellow earrings, girl.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you.
Does it have a saying, or is just a design?
It's just a design.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nah, those are cute.
Yes. So we are excited to have you join us again. As always, we have fun when you're with us. And we just want to catch up, just have an informal chat, see what's going on with you and what's been happening, and just do what we do, right? So what's been going on in the world of Sonserria and Daddyless Girls?
First, trying to live through the pandemic, right?
Right.
Dealing with this COVID-19. I've been working, building for Tava, building my healthcare. Y'all know I work in healthcare, so actually taking care of individuals, that's my life. Been doing that. I've had an opportunity to be off these past 3 weeks. Thank God I got a break. So I actually off next week. I'm excited about that. And I'm ready to push this Daddyless Girls. This pandemic is not going to stop what we're going to do with Daddyless Girls. And I'm excited. And everyone is still awaiting this moment to have this event. So I'm looking forward to it coming. They need to hurry up and open everything up so we can get this.
Right.
So I'm super excited about everything that's going on and everybody that's awaiting it. I think it's bringing more momentum because everybody is now waiting for it to happen.
Yes. Yeah. I know. I was waiting. I was saying that I was waiting because I was participating, so I was definitely waiting. But I was like, look, but all things work together, right? Because who knew that in the middle of all this and your planning that we would be hit with a pandemic that will certainly prevent us from having it. So it all worked out.
Yeah.
Like, think about all the events that were planned. You're paying deposits, you're putting money down, and then now so much stuff is up in the air. Like, you don't even know if you'll be able to have events in the next coming months. I mean, our award show was affected by it. We're still having it, but it's modified now. So it all worked out.
Yeah.
And there's more anticipation to keep the ball rolling because you got some good speakers.
I encourage you to, even if things don't get back to normal, because a lot of venues are not really sure insurance-wise if they want to do things, start thinking about that plan B and what does that look like if you were to go virtual? Because I just got an email actually for an event I was supposed to speak at on the 22nd of June, and now they've pushed us to the 18th of July, but still it doesn't mean that the hotel is going to kick in on the 18th of July.
Yeah, true. But you know what's exciting about virtual events, if we just be honest here for a second? When you do an actual location event, right? Look how this can actually be a great blessing. When you do the regular event, you have whatever people can make it into the city to do that event. But when you do a virtual event, baby, that thing is global.
Everybody. Yeah.
Global.
And that's actually the idea.
Yes. Literally you're able to you're able to have more people participate that might not have been able to do it just being stuck in that location. So hello, you said many people couldn't make it into the city at the time that you were going to have it. Now look, we're opening up possibilities.
Open.
Opening up possibilities. And virtual it's become its own whole new world. I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
It really has. And I think people are working on perfecting it every day. But we're not here to talk about that.
Yeah. We're gonna come on back.
We're gonna come back to Daddyless Girls.
Yes.
Yes. So, I wanna know more about, the whole Daddyless Girl feel, especially with Father's Day coming on. Do you have any suggestions for some of the ladies who might be going through this emotional time, not really sure how to respond with Father's Day, no matter what their situation may be?
First, let me say, we all do have a father. We have a heavenly father that watches over us, regardless if a natural father or daddy was ever there. And we have to come to grips that he was always there. He's never left us. He's never going to leave us. And no matter what's going on, he's going to always be there for us. With Father's Day coming up, I'm going to first honor God because he's been my father no matter what. I love my natural father. He wasn't always there. But at the end of the day, I can only accept that and forgive him and move on. People can only do what they know better to do. And when people don't know better, they can't do better. So until his mindset changes to know that he should have been there for his children, I can't force it. I can only pray for him and hope for the best. And maybe God will bring us to a coming together before he leaves this earth. Maybe there will be a sit down, a conversation to bring some type of peace or reconciliation. But don't go into this Father's Day, feeling that you don't have anyone, because God knew what was going to happen before you were even formed in the womb. So he knows where you are. He knows why you're there, and he knows where you're going. So with all of that being said, you're never alone, and I'm trying not to get them. I'm getting there right now, and I'm trying to.
No, it's a behind the scenes chat.
Okay.
Feel free.
You're never alone. And I've had many nights and many days where even it could be a house full of people. And sometimes we all go through that. You can have a house full of people and still feel alone.
Yes.
You can have thoughts in your mind of something that happened a long time ago and you can still feel alone. Something that your father may have done or may because you're angry because he didn't do. And a lot of people now that don't have their fathers, they're more angry about what they didn't do than what they actually did. So when I look at my situation with my dad, there was a lot that he did when he was there, and I guess my situation came, I got angry from when he left because it was like, now I don't have my dad anymore. And I felt like somebody took him away. But even in that, nobody can take anybody away from you that doesn't want to be taken away. So even in that, I had to learn that he's where he wants to be. And I have to accept that, and I can only forgive and move on. But I always have a father. And, I even teach my children because their fathers aren't here with us right now. But I teach them, mommy's here, but you still have a dad. And there is always still a father that's watching over this house, So that's all I wanted to say. But you're never alone. You always have a father that's there. And you can talk to
you definitely said two key words that that really helped that whole process, and that was acceptance and forgiveness. As we're growing up and we're younger, I think you may remember my story. I didn't meet my dad till I was 35. And then he passed away just this past February. So I got an opportunity to be with him for 10 years, but so it was really hard, and the whole process was really hard, right? But that acceptance and forgiveness is key. It was so key to really getting past the anger that I had and the loneliness that I was feeling, and the search for that. What does that fatherly love feel like? What does it look like? You know what I mean? So, but that acceptance and forgiveness is definitely key. And it's so important that, of course, when we are single moms and we're raising our children, that we teach our children to be resilient, right? To be able to bounce back. So those two key words are very important: acceptance and forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Now, Sherri, I was going to say one thing about you. I love, and I think I shared this on the show when we talked about it. I loved how you were at peace when he passed away, knowing all that went on. you were sad, but how you and your siblings were able to come together, you gracefully went through that process.
Yeah.
And you were like, T, I'm okay. I'm sad, but in knowing, like, you went back, you looked into, and we talked about why he was the way he was. Like, you actually took the journey to learn some things about him, and you were like, T, and this really blessed me, because I think sometimes we look at our parents because they are our role models, they are our examples, whether they're there or not, they're still setting some type of example.
Right.
And I think sometimes as we get older and we go through the healing process, the one gem that you gave and said, and I said, I feel you, is that they did the best they could with what they knew how and what they had at the time. And when Sherri said that, she said that was the one thing that set her free in her dad passing. They developed a relationship. It still wasn't perfect.
Right.
But she was able to say, I came to know him well enough and enough to know that he did the best he could with what he had. And that helped her in her healing process and as she went forward. And I think sometimes we do need to look at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're not perfect people. But growing up, even now I look at my own kids and I'm like, I'm not perfect, but I sure enough do the best I can with what I have. And I'm sure my kids are going to grow up and say some things like, Mommy, I used to hate it when you did blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But I hope that they give me that same grace that I did the best I could with what I had at that moment.
That's right. And that's all the parents should ask for is, and we cross that journey together. We don't come into parenting knowing what to do. Nobody does. Not even the best psychologist in the best book is prepared to make you a parent. It's just not. So you literally are crossing that bridge with your child and your children as you grow through it. That's it. So you're going to have a lot of bumps in the road and hiccups, and you're going to have a lot of smooth sailing, but it's a process.
Yes. It really, really is. But what I want to know is, let me pause here for a second. So, in all of this, what I want to know, Sonserria, is what are some of the key components? I know we talked about how you're processing through right now, and all that you've gone through in your process, but what are some key components that you would say is part of the healing process?
Key components. Definitely forgiveness is a big one. You have to accept where that person was and where they are now. Another thing I would probably say is don't look at everyone as that person. Because sometimes we have a tendency of we'll see something similar that someone else does in our life, and we'll say, oh, you're acting just like my father. So you have to meet people where they are, and you have to accept and take that person for that person, only for what they have done, who they are, not who that person was that you're angry with. Never take your past into your present. Leave your past there. You have to pray definitely daily, because sometimes the littlest thing can get in your mind and can take you all the way back to 1970 something.
Right.
When you remember something and now you're mad all over again about something that you cannot control. And that you couldn't control then, and you definitely can't control it now because, but the worst thing you can do is keep reliving your past. That's definitely one. Don't relive your past, because it causes stress. It causes you health issues. And now you're talking about other things, people die from stress. So definitely don't be reliving your past. So those are the main things: forgiveness, prayer, not reliving your past, and accepting the person for where they are and where they are now.
And let's be clear, because one part that I didn't add to that, but let's be clear for those that are watching. you know, this is coming from a person who has not been able to reconcile. So see, when you're able to reconcile with the person, that makes it easier sometimes when you're able to talk to the person and reconcile. But when you attempt to reconcile with somebody and they don't want to reconcile, they don't make an effort, oh my God, like that is major. You get what I'm saying? Because you have different on here. I didn't grow up a fatherless child. Well, you know what I mean, a daddyless girl. My dad was there, but not totally present. He was there in the way that he could be, but even that was hard for me. And then with Sherri, her dad wasn't around and she didn't get that until she became an adult. But both of us were able to literally physically talk to, work through, and reconcile with our dads to have some sort of relationship. And so then there's that spectrum of those who cannot, because the person is unwilling or not in a place where they want to reconcile. That's the spectrum. You know what I mean?
I've been watching a lot of, since I've been on quarantine, I've been addicted to, don't judge me, to paternity court.
Okay.
I've been addicted. I watch it every day, and I'm still seeing more and more episodes that I haven't seen before. But, you know, I'm really convinced that especially when men, and we're talking about men, we're not talking about women. So whoever, we're talking about when dads are out of the picture. I'm truly convinced that even after a while of dad not being around, for whatever the reason may be, whether it was an addiction, whether it was just, I really didn't know whether this was my child, or I just really didn't know how to communicate with the mother. It was just too much drama. Or I just decided to walk away. I was doing me. Whatever it is, I truly believe that they do get to a place where they don't know how to come back. They don't know how to then look that child in the face. I do think they get to a point. I don't care if it's 5 years later, 6 years later, 20 years later, and they're really at that point of, I just don't know. And I don't, they're disappointed in themselves. And they're disappointed in the fact that I didn't go the extra mile or to take the extra step. How are they going to respond to me? Are they going to respond to me? And they're not looking for another disappointment. So as a man, they just say, you know what? I can't deal.
And
I can't deal. And
they don't, because they don't know how to extend their olive branch. That is so real, Sherri, and so true. Because think about how many times we might have messed up. I mean, we've grown, but we all have our points in our process, right? And our things that we need to work on. But think about how many times we might have screwed something up and felt like, I just can't go back. How do I do this? I messed up. How do I go back? Like just in general relationships. So just
with a best friend, like, oh, I messed up. I shouldn't have said that. And you debating whether you're going to pick up the phone and call, and you like, oh no. And you know, there's some friendships that are broken up because people just don't know how to come back. And maybe that might be a lot of the issues that a lot of our dads and men are just out here feeling. You know, they're broken and they don't know. You know, and sometimes moms are a big problem. I tell moms all the time, get out the way. Get out the way.
Because just because he was not a good mate or partner for you doesn't mean that he cannot be a great parent to his child. It just means that you two weren't a good fit. It doesn't mean that he can't still father his child without being attached to you, you know, in a emotional relationship. You got to learn how to co-parent, because we're killing our kids. We're hurting our kids in the process of getting in the way with our emotional baggage because we can't let go, or we're angry because they weren't what we wanted them to be. You can't do that to your children. That's unfair to them.
Stop messing up the children.
That's it. I had even the situation when you were saying about parents coming back. My dad actually did reach out to me a couple of years ago and apologized So the kid in me was thinking, oh, wow, we've reconciled. Now daddy's back in my life. He's going to be around me and the kids. And, I was really excited. And the kid in me got excited all over again. Finally, I had my dad back after 30 years. He's apologized. It was like everything was wiped away. And then right after that, the relationship didn't continue. And I was reaching and wasn't getting a response, and was reaching. And then it was like the kid in me again was like
devastated.
Daddy left again.
Yeah.
Daddy left again. And it does something to you mentally, especially when you're a parent and you're trying to raise kids that don't have their father. And you are like the big kid that wants your own father. It puts you in a place where you have to now forget about you wanting your dad and focus on the kids that now don't have their dad, to make sure they don't go through the emotional stuff that you go through, and it's easy. And then it's not easy because I have more boys than I have girls, and me being a daddyless girl, where there's a lot of boys that don't have their fathers that go through the same exact thing. The boy in them is like the temper tantrums and the anger and all of this stuff comes from them. And, we get a lot of phone calls from the schools about our sons doing this and they're doing that. But a lot of that is stirred up anger. They're at school trying to be the man, because the father isn't present. So they feel like they now have to step in place and be somebody that they're not even designed or built to be, because they're missing something emotionally. Right. So as a mom, I cannot be your father. I can only tell you that God is there. You have a heavenly father that's there, and I can direct you to someone that can guide you through that. But I can't be your father. I can't show you what a man would show you. I can only be your mother and be there for you as a mom. And it's hurtful and it's painful when you have boys and when you have kids, period, and you feel like you're that only part of them. And then it's almost like as kids, because I even did it as a kid, like Sherri said, she was angry. I took it out on my mom a lot.
Yeah.
That my father wasn't there. But as I grew, I knew and realized that, okay, she was the one that actually took care of me, and I had to go back then to her and say, I apologize. I was wrong. I do realize, because I said a lot of hurtful things to my mother during that time because I felt like it was all her fault. Right. I didn't never see, and as little kids, sometimes we don't see everything. And then I kind of felt some of it was my fault because of some conversations that I heard that I went back and told my mother, which caused this big old breakup. Right. So as a kid, I kind of felt like it was my fault. And I felt like my father held that against me. Even now I'm 42 years old. And I'm like, is he not talking to me because I told my mom, what I heard, and, you still have those thoughts, but I have to cast those things down because I would be upset every single day if I sat and pondered on the stuff and the emotional baggage that has come along with me not having my father. But now I can only try to guide my children, and I'm just doing the best I can to guide them, and knowing that, no matter who left, there's always somebody that's still here. And you have to focus on not who left, but who's still here. Yeah. I'm still here. God is still here. We're not going anywhere. So whatever issue you have with the people that's not here, you have to have that conversation with them. But don't take it out on me because I'm still here, And that's what a lot of kids do. They take it out on the parent that's left.
So I have a question for you. And I'd like to know what, we agree. I was raising a son as well. So we agree that we can't teach him to be that man, right?
Right.
So what steps are you taking to make sure that he has those positive male figures and roles in his life to make sure that, he's learning some of those positive things that he needs to apply in his adult life, not right now, but in his adult life, what is going to carry over? What are some of those things that you might be doing?
So before the whole pandemic, I had started reaching out throughout the school, to find mentors for my son. I actually reached out to one of the social workers and she directed me to a few mentors. We agreed to put my sons in sports because the mentors and the coaches were very authoritative and good with my sons, and they could reach them in a place where I couldn't.
That's right.
That's how my oldest son gravitated to baseball. That's how my other son gravitated to basketball, you know, and now I have a little one coming up that I'm going to do the same thing. So those coaches, I noticed when I had issues as far as school and things taking place, those were people that I could reach out to and say, hey, you know, Abraham, you know, this, that, and the third, you know, give him a call. Oh, I got him. I'm on him because he ain't gonna be off the team. I got him, call him, you know, and he'll make that phone call. And the same thing with my other son. I had to get them mentors and people in their life that they trusted enough to be able to talk to about what was going on, and that I could trust, that wasn't just trying to put my business out, but at the same time be there for me and my family and my children, because they knew it was an absence and that they needed that.
Well, I definitely know of a lot of, and I asked that because I know a lot of non-profit organizations that focus on boys and raising and rearing our men. I'm gonna share this story quickly because I know we're running out of time. I remember when we went to Brittany and Brandon's first college open house, right? And Brandon wanted to wear a tie. I had never taught him how to do a tie. I never even thought to tell a child how to put on a tie. And of course, back in the day, I had bought him clip-ons, right? I had bought him clip-ons, but even when we would go to church, sometimes he would just wear a button-up, right? Because church isn't as dressy as it used to be, right? So some days we wear polo, some days we were just wearing a button-up. So when we got to we got ready to go up to orientation that day, we're sitting there in front of YouTube trying to figure out how to do a tie. And I thought to myself, wow, like, okay, I had him involved in all of this stuff, and we got with all of these, but my baby didn't even know how to tie a tie. And I was so proud of him as he went away to school that he became a mentor to younger people. And he took pictures of him one day out doing his volunteer work, and his table that was set up was teaching young men how to tie ties.
Oh, wow.
So see, it's those little basic things that we need, like they need like every day. And being little, I used to scream when I lived in DC. I used to live in Northeast during that time when they were renovating every building imaginable. And the mice were off the hook. They were just off the hook. And we would come home and mice would scatter, right? And so I'd walk in the house, and what was I doing? Screaming. What was Brittany doing? Screaming.
Right.
Brandon, what was he doing? Screaming. So guess what? I had to change my response to him. And I learned, and when they were about 5 or 6 years old, 7, 8 years old, I remember I need to change my response to this boy. Because I can be afraid all I want. But to be honest, if it was a male in this house, I wouldn't scream as loud, right? I might scream, but I might not scream as loud because I know he got it. Right? And then on top of that, I need him to know how to respond, because when he becomes a man, he can't walk in the house and scream.
Right.
Right? So I had to change my whole response to him. And even when it meant taking the trash out, I didn't want to yell and scream at him about taking the trash out. I wanted to let him know the importance of taking the trash out. So I talked to him. So we have to, because a man is going to be like, boy, if you don't get up right in the chest, right? Like, get the trash out. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't punch him in the chest, and I can't grab him. But guess what? I'm going to talk to you, because if you get into a relationship, your wife is going to be like, she don't want to have to tell you.
Yes.
Come on.
I like that you said that, because I just said, of course, I'm married and my husband is here with my son. But I just told my husband earlier today, I was like, it's time that Samaj starts taking on a little bit more responsibility, because I want him to be a good husband or a good mate. I need him to know how to function when he's on his own. Like, and that's something real in general. I need him to know how to cook. I need him to know how to do laundry. I need him to know how to clean. I need him to be a good person, a good individual for himself, and a good individual for his mate, because that thing is real.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So if you ask any of my children, any of them, if I call any of them in this house, and you ask them, what is it, that one thing that your mother says something to you the most about in the house? And the answer will be cleaning up. because I make everybody in this house clean up. You're not going to bed until that, and it's done. I've taught my sons how to cook. If I'm not here, they know how to cook for the family. Like, they know how to wash clothes. They know how to take out the trash. They know how to vacuum the carpet. They know how to mop the floor. They know how to clean the car. Like, they know how to do these things because I make them do it. And my thing is, and I always tell them, you know, even when I come home with groceries, like, I'm sitting in the car on the cell phone like Abraham and Trevin. We're outside with the bags.
Right. I'm outside.
Two grown boys downstairs. Absolutely not. So
that's not happening.
You know, I'll go to the store, but I'm like, all right, come get the bags. And me and my daughter will walk right in the house. And one day my son said, well, she don't have no bags. I said, you're here. She's carrying bags. And you're here. We're not doing that. So, you know,
I wish you would. One time we were in the parking lot at a grocery store, and literally the young man was he got in the car and sat down, and his mom was putting the groceries in the car, right? Brandon was like, Mom, like, you couldn't. No, you know it. You know better. Matter of fact, you better go over there and tell him before I tell him.
You see it all the time at the gas station. You'll see. I've seen girls get out and pay and pump the gas, and you'll see the guy sitting in the car like,
no.
Like, I don't have the patience for that kind of stuff. I don't like it. Because even though my father wasn't there the entire time, when he was there, he was a man. He took care of everything. He made sure stuff was paid. He opened doors. He closed doors. You know, he did those things. So I did see it happened, you know, and then I got involved in the church where I saw my pastor doing that for his wife. So I saw it, you know, for years. So I know what it was supposed to look like. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to teach my sons what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
You know.
Now I have something that I do. I know that we are a little over time, but I feel like this needs to be addressed because it was something big that you said earlier, Sonserria, when we were talking about your children being angry and taking it out on you.
Yeah.
For parents that are going through this very thing right now, where the father is not present in the home and the children are acting out, they are angry, it is being projected on to their mothers. What are some things that you would recommend, or, you know, maybe any resources that you know to help these mothers work through this process with their children? You know, I'm big to say, if it's coming to that point and your child has anger that you can't help them process through, therapy is a great way to get them the help they need. Giving them someone outside or as always, someone that doesn't have skin in the game.
That's right.
Taking them to someone they can talk to and trust to kind of talk out what their anger is, why they may be angry at you, the mother, and why they're angry at their dad, how they can positively, you know, channel that energy or repurpose that anger and energy to be towards something that's more productive. That's right. What are some other things that you can recommend to help those mothers walk through that process?
Well, first thing I had to do was realize that the problem really did arise from me being angry because of where my life was. So I first had to go to counseling, and I went to therapy myself for about 8 months because I had a lot of stuff that I had to get out myself. Then I got my son a counselor. I'm sure he was always in counseling twice a week at school and outside of school. I had mentors at the church. I had them connected in different activities in church with men that could reach him, right? And then since they've been on this whole pandemic, zooming from home, doing school at home, I've reached out to social workers, and I've set him up with a social worker that reaches out to him every Thursday. And she actually spends time with him on Zoom, talking to him. She's had him write out some things, you know, and then they communicate that way. And then she'll reach out to me. We'll sit and we'll communicate that way about it and what we need to do moving forward. So it's actually been working, and we having better conversations. So now when my son gets upset, he'll be like, I'm going to the basketball court. Instead of, he'll say, I'm going to the basketball court. And like she told me, let him. Don't say, no, you're not going to the court. We're going to talk about this right now. No, go downstairs. Let him go, because he has to have an outlet. You have to give your kids an outlet. And I know with the whole pandemic thing, it's been hard for people to go out, but you're able to do a little bit more now. They're opening up a little bit. I don't care if it's out back to sit on the steps or ride around the block. He's done it. Like he left, rode his bike around like 5 times, and then came back to the door and was like, all right, I'm ready to come back in now. You know, and usually I would be like, no, you're not going nowhere. Go downstairs. You know how we get when we're upset. But I had to stop doing that and let them, you know, whatever. Go ahead, go get yourself together and then come back. But I didn't always do that. You know, I was more of, no, you're not going anywhere. Right here. We're going to talk about this right now. But you got to give them an outlet. You have to. You have to. Because they will explode. They have feelings too.
And I was going to say, I think that's something that I probably never thought about that as a parent until this very moment. But I can definitely see how that makes total sense.
Yeah.
You know, just like when we as adults, when we're in a heated conversation with someone else as an adult, we are quick to say, you know what, I'm gonna push pause right here. I'm gonna go gather myself and then I come back.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't we think that our kids may need that same opportunity
Absolutely.
to go to, you know, not giving them permission to be disrespectful, right? But giving them the opportunity to say, you know what, go sit in your room for a minute or go, you know, in the other room. I want you to calm down, and then you can come back and we're going to communicate about this thing.
Right.
I think
you can deal with all the kids the same.
Yeah, because we are so in the I'm in charge. You're gonna hear me out. You're gonna listen to what I have to say. Man, until this moment, it makes perfect sense, but I never thought about that. Maybe they do need to go somewhere, calm down, come back and let's dialogue about this, just like we would do in an adult conversation.
Yeah. And then I had multiple kids, so I had to separate them. I was dealing with my 18-year-old like I deal with my 16-year-old. And then it got to a point where she was like, well, he's an adult. He's there, but he's an adult. So I have to deal with him different. Like, I don't really let my kids, I've never really let them too loose where they can just rip and run the streets. I was able to do that, and it got me in a lot of mess. So I was really like hovering over my children. I really didn't let them do too much unless I dropped them off, I picked them up. You know, I was really like controlling in that area. So they were always like, you never let us do anything type of kids, right? So I had to learn that, okay, now my son is adult. I can't be like, oh, no, you're not going to the store. I'm going to take you. He's like, Mom, 18. Like, you're not taking me to the store. But, you know, the mother in me, the protector in me is like, oh, no, so much is happening with the kids now. You're not going out of my sight. I'm too worried something's going to happen. But then it's like, I have to know that he's an adult. I've shown him how to make decisions that are right, and I have to trust that he's going to do that. Now, if he breaks the trust, then that's a different situation. But I have to at least give it a chance. And I wasn't giving it a chance at first. You know, I was just like, no, you're not doing it, period. I said no, you know, but I had to give some rope, you know, so we can't treat every child the same because they're not all the same. How I deal with my son, I can't deal with my oldest son like that. How I deal with my 13-year-old, I can't deal with my daughter like that because they're two different people. Yeah. You know, I have to meet them where they are. So, yeah.
Good. Meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Well, Stacey, it has been such a pleasure having you with us today. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. This was great dialogue. And look, y'all, it wasn't interrupted. We actually had to have the full-blown, we're able to have the full-blown conversation without having to take a commercial break.
I know. I love that.
So, as always, you're welcome here. We look forward to seeing you back again because you are certainly a friend of the show. But we are a little over time. Remember, check us out, B3rdPower, full episodes, Mondays, 7 p.m. on Urban Style Media. Be sure to check that out on Facebook. You can either go to urbanstylemedia.com and click on B3rdPower. You can watch us there or on Facebook Live, Urban Style Media page, okay? And as always, as Sherri and I always say, it's a great...
T really says it, but...
But Sherri loves it. I
love it.
As soon as I heard it. It's a great day to make a difference in the lives of those that are around you. This is B3rdPower, a behind the scenes chat. Thank you again, Sonserria Coates. You guys, remember to like, love, follow our page and share this episode. You'll never know who it might bless and who needs to hear this information. Build our community, build your community. You all be safe, and we'll see you guys next week.